For you to be your best self and for you to accomplish everything you want, you need to be clear in your head. On one side, I had pressure from my mom to be the best Christian in the world. And regardless of what I was doing, I was never a good enough Christian for her. And then when I got into the corporate world, there was more, you need to do this, you need to be like this, you need to do this, you need to be like this, you need to do this. I have to build my life on my own. They looked at me like I didn't have any problems, when in all actuality I was drowning inside. So like, why can't I just be left alone? Really developing the communication skills to try to navigate yourself. It's like every single part of you interacting with people, there are expectations that they place on you. Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Jessica White, and today we're going to dive into causes of anxiety and overthinking and how to overcome both of them. The reason why this is so important is because for you to be your best self and for you to accomplish everything you want, whether it's your personal aspirations or career aspirations, you need to be clear in your head. And one of the many things that plagues all of us is anxiety and overthinking. So I'm going to walk through what I've personally done to overcome my anxiety and overthinking. I would say I probably started developing anxiety a little bit in college, not so much, but really when I started working in corporate America. And there's so many different reasons why anxiety even starts or why it becomes, I would say, more crippling, where you end up in a place where you just become paralyzed. So with anxiety, you have social interactions that can cause anxiety. You have, feeling overwhelmed, or even you may even have a nutrient deficiency. Please check with your doctor, though, before you self-diagnose. But let's dive into a couple of the causes of anxiety, and I'll have a more personal approach to walk through what kind of built up with my anxiety. I would say it wasn't something that just like sparked right away. It was this interaction, this interaction, this interaction, this interaction. And then over the years, over time, I started to internalize it. And then it just turned into I would say like an automatic program that was just going on. It was just my way of being. And so like, let's dive into, let's say, some social interactions, right? So friends and family and your parents and everything. I would say for myself, that contributed to some of my anxiety. So on one side, I had pressure from my mom to be the best Christian in the world. And regardless of what I was doing, I was never a good enough Christian for her. So there was always that piece in the back of my head whenever I would interact with my mom. Then with my dad, it was just trying to make him proud, right? He always wanted me to become a doctor because he's a doctor. And so there was always that expectation, like I need to become a doctor or I need to make as much money as him. So there was always that pressure from a teenager, like I need to make as much money as my dad or more. Just because I think, he both of my parents, they immigrated from Jamaica, and both of them, they didn't have much. So they built up their lives here in America. And I understand where my dad was coming from, where, he had sacrificed so much to try to get to where he is today. And he wants his children to do better because we were born here. But as a teenager, I was like, why is he putting so much pressure on me I need to make at least, like $500,000. So I'm thinking about this at like 17. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to make $500,000 so that my dad will be proud of me. So, you start replaying those conversations in your head and you start putting those expectations on yourself because of your parents. And it's a repeating message that they're saying over and over and over and over and over and over. And so then it's just like, okay, all right, let me try to do this so that, in X amount of years, I'll be able to make $500,000. Let me do this so I can make a lot of money. So it's like I constantly had pursuits in my head, or even actively tried to pursue different avenues to meet that expectation of trying to make $500,000. So that was one aspect of my anxiety. But I feel like it wasn't crippling so much. But then when I got into the corporate world, there was more, you need to do this, you need to be like this, you need to do this, you need to be like this, you need to do this, you need to be like constant repetition of basically how I need to change so many things about myself in order to meet someone else's expectations for whatever they deem as successful or good enough. So you see, it's like kind of like a little bit of a snowball that I was going through. Right? So first it started with my parents, like, okay, I need to change this about myself. I need to make sure I do this about myself. Okay, now I'm in corporate. All right, I need to change this about myself. I need to do this about myself. It's like all those little suggestions on how I can improve as a person that was not intrinsic to myself and my own goals just started as a small seed, and then it slowly started to snowball into just how my mind started to work. And so with the constant critique and constant expectations from my family and then from corporate, it was just led into the overthinking of my behavior. And then you have the other aspect of anxiety, cause of anxiety, which is social interactions. Okay. So I don't like to always try to dive into my appearance like a black woman, but social interactions, right? I could be walking down the street, and because I'm a black woman, people will tell me to smile. When I'm not angry, I'm not any type of way. I'm just in my own head thinking about whatever I want to think about, not interacting with anybody. I just want to do my thing, navigate through the world. And some stranger comes up to me and tells me to smile. I don't want to smile, so it's like I have, critique from my family, and then strangers on the street would tell me to smile when I'm not interacting with anybody. So like, why can't I just be left alone and not smile? I don't have to smile. So it's like those type of social interactions from strangers. Then you have social interactions from your friends. And your friends don't mean any harm. Like, your friends are your friends. I think it's natural human behavior, but essentially it would be like, Jess, let's do this. Jess, let's do that. Jess, let's do this. Jess, let's do that. Oh, you don't call me. Oh, this. Or, your friends put expectations on you too. And it's like every single part of you interacting with people, there are expectations that they place on you. And 1 off, 2 off, 3 offs is fine. But when you're constantly going through this day over day, week over week, month over month with people that want you to do things that you may not necessarily want to do, you might be minding your own business. This starts putting in seeds in your head like, oh, maybe I should be like this, or maybe I should just do what my friends say, or maybe I should just, so then you start to self-doubt, and the self-doubt is what allows overthinking to come in. So that's just my personal experience of social expectations, which led up to my anxiety. The next piece is feeling overwhelmed. I didn't feel so overwhelmed in high school. I felt somewhat overwhelmed in college a bit, just simply because of my workload between being pre-med and then being pre-med, studying economics, and then also having contingencies in the back of my head just in case I didn't want to go to medical school, right? So like internships and making sure I'm building up my resume so that I'm able to get a job. And I think at that time it was okay because it was like the norm. So I didn't really feel so overwhelmed. It was just something I had to get through. But I would say, I think that's the term adulting. So basically transitioning from college to becoming an adult and supporting myself like fully, right? I would say I graduated college, I went into my master's, and then I was still living with families, but I really, really, really wanted to get my own place. And I felt stuck for a bit of time because the job I had at the time didn't provide me enough money so I could live on my own. And then, living with family as well, you still have those social interactions and those social pressures, which gets to your psyche, right? because other people want you to behave how they want you to behave. And so the feeling of being overwhelmed really started when I got my own place and really saw, like, okay, I don't have anybody to ask for help. I have to build my life on my own. And then you couple that with friends and family who don't quite understand where you are in your journey, or they may still be in school and you're working, and so they look at you like, oh, you're working, like you should have so much money, but they don't understand because they're still living off of financial aid, and their parents support them and so on and so forth. So then with trying to get on your own 2 feet, and you're trying to support yourself, and then on top of it, like, I had no idea how to really manage money either, right? So then I furnished my apartment with Walmart. Thank God for Walmart, because your girl it really came through with the prices. I don't know about nowadays economy, but back then, like, I furnished my apartment from Walmart, Craigslist, and then where I work, I had to keep up appearances. So making sure I had quality clothes to wear and stuff. So, I was feeling overwhelmed because at that time I started racking up some credit card debt. I felt like I was just making ends meet. And then, can't look like I'm poor at work. I have to still keep up those appearances. And then, some of my friends who are still in school, still in college, or at their master's program, always wanting to go out, where it's like, no, I really just want to, try to take care of myself and not go out, and then, so it's just all these things I had to juggle on my own. And then on top of it, where I was working was a high pressure, high fast paced environment, right? So making sure that I keep up with that. And many times I worked lots of hours. I would probably say average I worked was 50, 60 hours a week. Just to stay on top of all my work, and then still try to develop my skills, and then still try to perform. So there was very, very, very minimal sense of relief, or sense of, okay, I got this, because it felt like I had to balance all these things at the same time so that I can meet the goal of making $500,000 by whatever age, let's say 35, because that's when some of my friends from Stony Brook, would finish their medical school and doctor journey. So, like, all these pressures that I had in my head, and then also I think what really affected me was the fact that I had the bit of people pleasing, right? So and then the people pleasing also came from feeling not good enough, right? So it's like growing up, getting constant critique. Then you have all the social pressure, social interactions. So it's just this loop of, okay, I need to change this. I need to do this. I need to change this. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this, going on over and over and over and on my head. It made me feel very, very overwhelmed. And the type of person I was, I internalized that overwhelmness, because I also had friends who were going through some other things, and for whatever reason, the friends I had, they looked at me like I didn't have any problems, when in all actuality I was drowning inside. I would say there was probably like a small handful of people that I was able to talk to, very, very small, very, very small. But even that was like periodical, right? It was when they would actually notice, because at the same time with people pleasing and all that stuff, like, I didn't know how to ask for help, and I didn't know how to properly communicate my wants and my needs and boundaries and things of that nature, right? So it's like, I don't want to say I wasn't equipped for all these things, but I kind of wasn't. It's like I had to kind of figure it out as I go along. So that's also the reason why I'm putting out these videos, so that, for those of you who are able to relate, like, there are so many skills that you can develop within yourself. You don't have to go through life, through all these years of just feeling all this pressure from so many people. Like, there are tools and ways of looking at life and different approaches you can take, so that you don't have to go through what I went through. You don't have to feel this internal mental battle, right? There would be so many times where I would just like be by myself and just cry, because like I did not know what to do. I didn't know who to turn to. even with therapy, like there are times I would do therapy as well just to have some type of outlet. And it would help like here and there, but I think it's really developing the communication skills to try to navigate yourself. And even just, I think it's just managing yourself in general. I don't think we're taught that, right? And I feel like a lot of us go through trial and error with how to basically navigate through life. So that was one. That was one bit of how I was feeling overwhelmed and how that also contributed to my anxiety. It feels like it was like a chaotic storm going on in my head, and then on the outside, I'm like this. So no one really knew what I was going through. And then also, I was the strong person for my friends as well. I don't know, maybe that's just how I wanted to project myself. Like I didn't want people to see that I was struggling, right? Maybe because there was the stereotype of trying to be a strong black woman, right? Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's just drowning on the inside. And then there, with some of the other causes of anxiety, we can go into the nutrient deficiencies. I actually did have one. They say that get your blood check also, but they say that some vitamin or nutrient deficiencies that can cause anxiety is B3, magnesium, vitamin D, iron, omega-3, zinc, and antioxidants. So those are just a couple. You can research some other nutrients that may cause anxiety. But before you self-diagnose, just definitely get your blood checked, because when I first started out, I did get my blood checked and I was deficient in iron as well as vitamin D, right? So that also like affected my energy levels and everything like that. So I would say like over the years, as far as like nutrients and trying to take care of yourself, I would definitely say the times where I was eating out more, drinking more, all those social interactions, just doing all of the, like not sleeping well, that definitely, I would feel a lot more anxiety and a lot more pressure during those times. But it's like you get into a vicious cycle because you're like, okay, but I'm stressed out. I want to hang out with my friends, or I'm stressed out. I just want to drink. That's the only way I can cope. Yeah, for the short term, but in long term, you're actually messing yourself up even more, right? Because alcohol messes up your stomach, and if your stomach's messed up, you can't absorb nutrients. And then also, if you're eating out, so you're eating out and you're drinking alcohol, like you're just messing up the whole inside, so you're not able to really take in the nutrients that your body needs, right? And so I went on a vitamin D supplement. I took the time to go outside more as well. And then also I started incorporating fruits in my diet. There's like a whole other subject about, how you should eat and all that stuff that I could talk about as well. That was a whole journey, but I found that when I'm balancing out my diet, of course, you can go out here and there and everything like that. But if you're going out every single day, drinking every single day, that is definitely going to affect your mental health. And definitely things are going to be off balance, because essentially you're not giving your body what it needs in order to be its optimal self, right? So definitely look into your vitamins and minerals. And even when you go to the doctor, like some doctors, they don't do a full panel of all of your nutrients, right? So in my experience, whenever I went, there's two different types of doctors. There's the MD doctor, and then there's the DO doctor. So when I would go to a DO doctor, they were definitely more holistic and more thorough with the type of blood work that they would do to really make sure you don't have any deficiencies. And then also DO doctors are more inclined to, let's say, prescribe a supplement over a prescription. They're more inclined to help you with root causes. And then also, yes, with my with the low iron, I had to make sure I regularly either ate steak or, take an iron supplement. So those I definitely noticed a difference in myself when I stopped drinking as much. I would eat home more, and then also incorporate fruits and vegetables into my diet. as well as nuts and seeds and stuff and things like that. And then the last thing that causes anxiety that I want to touch on is your environment, right? So, I think it's quite unfortunate that a majority of us have grown up in an environment that is not conducive to us being our best self. And it's not even intentional sometimes, you're just thrown in a place where people don't even realize what they're doing to you, right? Just because they have their own issues that they have to go through, right? There's the abusive household, a violent neighborhood, or an aggressive workplace, just an example of different types of environments that could cause anxiety and overthinking. So like for myself, I was in, for myself, there was a period in my childhood where it was close to being abusive, very, very close to being abusive. And it's like when you're in that type of household, you just want to make yourself small and go away and not be seen, right? You feel like you have no escape. You feel trapped. And I remember just thinking about like, how can I get out of here? How can I get out of here? How can I get out of here? And that's like the only thing you're focusing on. And lo and behold, you start developing like, survival mechanisms in order to get out of here, get out of here, get out of here, whether it's mentally just disassociate from your environment or physically just trying to escape. And so especially when you're going through these as a child, it's like when they start programming a cell phone or programming a computer, you're getting in all these programs in your head of how you need to navigate life because you're just experiencing this as a child while your brain is still forming, right? So for me, it's like I just wanted to, I didn't have an outlet. So that's probably where my internalization started, right? I didn't really have anybody to talk to who understood and didn't have any outlet at that time. So being in an abusive household, I mean, it's a difficult situation. And it's very, 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 very hard to try to be your best self because all you're focusing on is surviving. Then you have, let's say you're in a violent neighborhood. Thankfully I did not grow up in a violent neighborhood, but I did grow up in Baltimore, and 15 minutes was the city. And so I completely understand violent neighborhoods, driving past it almost every other day, right? And that's very, very hard to escape because if you're living in a violent neighborhood, that means most likely your household is not making much money. Your household may be broken, and you are most likely not exposed to positive avenues to get out of a violent neighborhood. You probably feel like there is no other way. You probably feel like this is the norm, right? To hear gunshots all the time, or to see people on drugs on the street. You normalize it, but you know what? It's not normal. It's not good for you to be in that type of environment. And it definitely makes you process and look at the world in a different light compared to someone who was never exposed to growing up in a violent neighborhood. So, that immediately puts in extra survival, extra set of fears that you have to try to overcome, right? Just the idea of walking outside of your house just hoping that you're safe, no one's going to rob you, you're not going to get shot, no one's going to kidnap you or anything like that. That's a whole nother level of survival that you as an adult, let's say you're an adult now, you had to overcome, and it still probably plagues you to this day, right? Because you set up your thinking patterns in that an extreme level of survival, right? Where changing your mentality from survival to thriving is such a hard mountain to overcome. And the more unfortunate situation that you start out with in life, the harder, and you don't even know that it's possible to even think to have a mentality of, I can thrive, I don't have to go through this. And then the other piece is an aggressive workplace. It could be aggressive where people are just blatantly disrespectful, rude, racist, or whatever towards you. Or it could be passive aggressive, right? Where you don't know why someone is acting this way. You don't know why, you get excluded from things. You don't know, right? Where it's just a passive aggressive environment, right? And so then when you're in a workplace where you feel that, let's say, you don't have any other options, or the job market is not looking good, or you just feel trapped, then you're still in that survival mentality. You're not going to be able to look at things like, okay, how can I be my best self? No, you're going to be in a state of mind where it's like, okay, what do I need to do to just get through this day? And so all of these little situations, all of these little pieces, all these environments, all the social interactions, the feeling of overwhelm, how you talk to yourself, all of that leads up to overthinking, right? The causes of overthinking is a symptom of your mental state, which would be anxiety, depression, or whatever. And so then, because you've been in this cycle of just negative interactions, you really haven't had anything to uplift you and say, yes, you can do this. You can get out of that situation. You can, do a great job at this project, or you can, find a higher paying job. You're just stuck in a loop, just overthinking, because you have no sense of relief. You have no relief mentally because of all the things that's going on in your environment. And then how you're talking to yourself on the inside is just overthinking, right? Just looping, where you feel trapped. And it's just crazy because anxiety and overthinking will literally make you become paralyzed, and you do nothing to get out of that situation, just because you're thinking about what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that. Just thinking about all the negative things that could happen if you do decide to do something, because you've just been stuck in a loop and you've been experiencing negative situations, negative interactions over and over and over, where at some point you kind of feel hopeless. Right. So that was a very, 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 I guess, in-depth overview and examples of causes of anxiety that I've gone through, and some other people have gone through as well. And now I want to get into steps you can do to reduce your anxiety and reduce your overthinking. So because anxiety is something that essentially causes overthinking is just a symptom of something's not right within, right? So I just want to go over like a couple of things that I've done to help me reduce my anxiety, and then just go through some stuff for overthinking as well. So for reducing your anxiety, prioritize your physical health. Take care of your body. I can't emphasize this enough. And it doesn't even have to be like, you have to be a super fitness guru or fitness person. You don't have to hit the gym every single day. I'm not here to tell you that. But I'm here to tell you, like, okay, at least take 5 minutes out of your day just to walk. 5 minutes out of your day just to move your body, get your blood flowing, right? Just something to tell your brain, like, there's more going on than just the negative interactions that I'm having. So when you move your body, your brain will get the endorphins. So it'll be some type of happy chemical that will go to your brain. Just 5 minutes a day. You could even just give yourself a head massage, just something. It could be, you could stretch, walk, do some jumping jacks, just something to move your body and to let your brain know that, hey, everything's going to be okay, and to give your brain some type of sense of relief. And what you'll find is you'll be like, oh, this actually felt really good. And you'll start doing it more and more and more on your own. The next thing is to choose food options with the least amount of ingredients. So I know that it's really, really hard in certain situations to eat the organic food or to eat, the most highest quality food. But there are more options now where, just you don't even need to know what the ingredients are, but just look how big the ingredients paragraph is. So if you want a waffle, if you're buying waffles for breakfast or something like that, there's different brands. Choose the brand that has the shortest paragraph of ingredients and then just go from there, right? Like, we don't have to make it anything complicated, but just swap things out, because you have no idea what any of those chemicals are doing to your body. You have no idea. Like, I don't even know, and why eat something that's basically lab food, right? You want to eat things that are as closely produced from the earth as possible. We came from the earth. We should eat what's from the earth. There's no reason to eat chemical food. So just choose the food options with the least amount of ingredients, right? And then even swapping things out. Grilled food is better than fried food. There's so many things that are fried today because you have no idea what that oil is. You have no idea where they got that oil from. They could put in oil that was from some industrial manufacturing company and they're just recycling it to a food company because it's cheaper. And that's real practices. People literally recycle industrial manufacturing nasty oil. They'll process it a lot and then put it into the food just because that type of oil is cheaper. It's a byproduct of making, let's say, a car, right? Just an example. So grilled food is definitely better than fried food. Home cooked food is better than restaurant food. Again, a lot of these, especially chain restaurants, they try to save money. They try to save costs. So they'll buy the cheapest ingredients, especially when it comes to oils, right? So home cooked food is better than restaurant food. And then also try to eat some type of fruits or vegetables, which is better than nothing. Just even if you don't like vegetables or like fruit, just find one fruit that you like and go from there. Because again, it's from the earth. Why would God provide all these things from the earth if you're not eating it? Like you won't benefit from eating just lab food. So you really need to take care of your inside as well. And just take it simple. If you guys want to have more videos about how to go about choosing right foods, let me know and I can have a whole other episode of things I've done in my journey when it comes to food. But this is just some simple practices. And then you could worry about portion sizes later. But just choose better ingredients first, and then later on you can figure out the whole portion size things later. That's not as important right now. All right. And the next thing is to make sure you get your blood work done to make sure there's no nutrient deficiencies. I did touch about that earlier, but definitely go to some type of clinic or lab, or if you can, go to a DO doctor to get a very thorough blood work, get your blood work done in a very thorough way, just to make sure that there's nothing off, right? Because if you're having all these mental issues, sometimes that's just a symptom of your body saying, hey, I need something, you're not giving it to me, so I'm going to just make you feel like you're crazy, right? So definitely make sure you have no nutrient deficiencies. And then another thing, with anxiety and overthinking, you feel like super tense. You can't sleep sometimes. You have insomnia. I definitely struggled with that. Like there were so many times where, I felt like my neck and my shoulders just so stiff just from all the anxiety I was going in. So I wore it in my shoulders. So I would just be like this all the time, right? So there's lots of teas and different things out there to help you feel more relaxed. So whatever, like if you can just explore some herbal teas, you can buy some really cheap ones from Walmart, Amazon, or anything like that. Let me know if you want suggestions on some herbal teas that I drink, to help you just feel more relaxed. There's also some supplements to help you feel more relaxed. Granted, I think like those are more temporary, short-term relief, but again, it's better than nothing. So explore some herbal teas, and those also help with the antioxidants as well. And then definitely get more sleep. Suffering with anxiety and overthinking was like almost impossible for me to fall asleep sometimes. So do whatever you need to do to try to get more sleep, right? If you need to take sleeping pills for some time, do it. If you need to get a Xanax prescription to get more sleep, do it. Whatever. Just get more sleep, because sleeping, even if it's a facilitated way of falling asleep, is better than not sleeping at all. Sleeping is basically gives your body a chance to process everything that was going on in the day, as well as detox things that was going on in the day. And there's lots of benefits of just getting more sleep, right? I don't have everything in front of me right now, but definitely get more sleep. I know it made a tremendous difference for myself when I really started to prioritize my sleep. Even to this day, like sometimes I'll find myself like, trying to become a night owl again, but I still have morning obligations. So, I definitely feel off when those days where I'm not getting as much sleep as I need to do. And then, a really, really, really big thing that helped with my anxiety was actually developing communication skills. I did not have communication skills. I did not know how to ask for help. I did not know how to set boundaries. I did not know how to communicate how I feel, why I feel a certain way, just because I internalized things and always wore a smile on my face. So with communication skills, you have to express how you feel if you have a safe space right away. You have to let whoever is doing whatever to you, you have to let them know how they're making you feel. You don't have to necessarily say, you did this, you. You definitely don't want to point your finger and do like that to anybody, because that starts an argument, right? But, when you're able to say, hey, you're making me feel really bad about myself, or hey, you're making me feel like I'm not good enough, that's going to allow the other person to take a step back and be like, oh, I had no idea I was doing this to you. Hopefully. Sometimes that's not always the case, but hopefully that will allow the other person to start being more aware of how they're treating you. And even if they don't change their behavior, you're still starting to speak up for yourself, which is important, right? So if they don't change their behavior, you keep speaking up for yourself. If it's a safe space, keep speaking up for yourself, keep speaking up for yourself, keep speaking up for yourself. Because then you're going to start to empower yourself, and you're going to start to feel good on the inside about yourself. Because it's like, hey, I finally protected myself. And so definitely, as soon as someone makes you feel a certain way, let them know right away. Because the longer you wait to say something, you're going to normalize their behavior with how they're treating you. And it's just going to become harder and harder and harder to address that and to change that behavior. The next thing is to ask for help. Even if you feel like you shouldn't have to ask the other person for help. And I think that was a huge lesson I've learned as an adult, that, you may feel that, I shouldn't have to tell this person X, Y, and Z because he should already know, or she should already know. They, kind of making them read your mind, but that's just not how life works. You have to tell the other person to do X, Y, and Z if you've seen that they've never done X, Y, Z, even though you want them to, right? And it's going to be a constant repetition, because that's how people learn, is through repetition. Just because you speak up for yourself one time or you ask for help one time, it's not going to be an automatic behavior from the other person. And if you're expecting a certain behavior from another person, or if you really want help from the other person, you have to say something, because at the end of the day, the other person's not suffering. The other person is just fine. You're the one that's suffering, so you're the one that needs to speak up. You have to stand up for yourself, right? And that took me a long time to learn that. And, sometimes you can't even tell or speak up to another person right away, right? So maybe take some time to look in the mirror and start practicing speaking up for yourself. Even for me, like looking in the mirror and saying, hey, Jess, you're doing a great job today. That's awkward. It felt really uncomfortable. I did not it felt really, really weird. But when you just start doing it over and over and over, you really start seeing, and you really start believing in yourself, and you start thinking like, yes, I am doing a good job. Yes, I can speak up for myself. Yes, I am confident. And then when you start developing that beam of confidence, beam of self-assurance within yourself, it becomes much, much easier to just go to the other person and say, hey, you make me feel this way. Can you stop? Or, hey, can you help me with this? And you're able to do it over and over, and you won't take it personal, because that's just how they are, right? And the last thing, as far as steps to reduce your anxiety as it relates to your environment, leave your environment. Leave. And I know that when you first think about that, it's like, what do you mean leave? What do you mean I can't leave because of this? I can't leave because of that. But I guarantee you, if you do this exercise where, you write out, you write out, how can I leave this environment on a piece of paper, and you write down 20 answers to that question, your brain will come up with creative ways of how you're able to leave your environment, right? So, and at the end of the day, we're responsible for taking care of ourselves. No one is going to take care of you how you can take care of yourself. So if you're in an environment that is not suiting you, that you know is not good for you, leave. Leave as soon as you can. Because it's very, very, very hard to change yourself when you're still in an environment that is causing the triggers. You want to remove yourself from that environment or find some type of an escape where you cannot be triggered and not keep, solidifying the same thought process that you're trying to get out of, right? So the best way is to try to leave your environment. Sometimes changing, maybe sometimes people can change within your environment. But I would definitely focus and meditate and pray on, how can I leave my environment? How can I change jobs? How can I change neighborhoods? How can I do this? How can I do that? And if you really, really, really focus on how you can leave a certain situation, you'll find opportunities that will start to pop up and come your way for you to leave your environment. That's definitely what happened for me. Granted, leaving an environment may not have been on the timeline that I wanted, but at the end of the day, I did leave that environment. So that's also like another thing to keep in mind. Just stay focused on your end goal of leaving an environment. And the time, of course, is going to vary, but it will happen eventually. It will happen for sure. If that's your goal, it will happen. If that's your goal and you're working towards it and you're planning and you're praying and you're doing everything you can do to try to leave your environment, it will happen. So those are the steps to reduce your anxiety. So prioritize your physical health, and develop communication skills, and leave your environment. So those are the top 3 things that you should do to try to reduce your environment, to reduce your anxiety. And then the last thing was steps to reduce overthinking. Honestly, the only remedy to reduce overthinking is just to act. You have to do something. You have to just act, right? Okay. So with overthinking, let's say that, I don't know, let's do some type of hypothetical situation where, let's say you want to ask your manager for a raise because you've been performing really well and you're just thinking, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that. You're never going to ask your manager for a raise if you just keep thinking, what if that, what if this, what if that, what if this, what if that. So your best bet is just to research how to ask my manager for a raise. And you'll come across lots of different strategies. You can practice in the mirror of how to have the conversation, it's better to have an in-person conversation for asking for a raise, or if you're remote, face-to-face conversation, if it's through Zoom or Teams or whatever, on your raise. And that's the only way you'll know if you will get a raise or not, right? Is by having a conversation and acting on it, right? And you just nip it right there in the butt right there. Because, there's no more what ifs, because you can have a million what if scenarios when you're overthinking. And the only way to have a for sure scenario is just to act and have a conversation with your manager if you want to raise. The next thing is overthinking about switching jobs, right? You could want to leave your jobs for various reasons, but then you also convince yourself to stay in your job for various reasons. Like, oh, I need to be in my job for at least 2 years. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this. So like, I won't be successful in the next job. Oh, I have to start from scratch. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Right, by the end of the day, you know that you want to change jobs. So if you just come up with all these excuses as to why you need to stay, you will stay, right? But if you start acting and start doing things like, okay, how can I get another job? Okay, let me start by fixing my resume. Okay, you're acting, you're doing something that's working towards you getting another job, right? So if you do all of the things you need to do, fixing your resume, looking online for jobs, talking to people about, what they do in their job, right? You're putting forth all of this energy, you're acting, you're doing, and you're slowly letting go of your attachment to your old job. You're finally allowing space to come in for things to change. And so with overthinking, you just need to act. And then, that even stems with overcoming anxiety. You still need to act. So all of the things that plague us mentally, it's like the remedy is just for us to do something to address it, to fix it, to get over it, to overcome it. And so those are all of the things that I've personally done for myself to overcome my anxiety and overthinking. I feel so much better today. I feel so much clearer today. And, my life is still constantly changing for the better because I've been prioritizing myself. I've been prioritizing my mind, body, soul, spirit, and I've been acting. And I've been seeing the fruits of my actions bear. So I just want to share this with you guys. And I hope it was very helpful to you. And please let me know what else you would like me to dive into or to talk about, or whatever stories you want me to share. I'm here. And again, this is Connecting the Dots, where, we talk about various different topics, right? And our mind is the number one thing that we have to master in order for us to master everything else in our lives. So thank you. Thank you very much.